Today's guest is Dr. Angela Brooks. She was born in the Turks and Caicos Island. She is a Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions. She has a bachelor's in sociology and a bachelor of law as well. And she has her master's of law degree in international and commercial law with merit. Dr. Brooks obtained her bar vocational diploma, and in 2003, she was admitted to the bar in England. When she became an Attorney General Chambers as a Crown Counsel, she swiftly climbed the ranks to Senior Crown Counsel. In 2013, the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions was established as a separate institution of good governance, and Dr. Brooks was appointed as the Deputy Director of the Public Prosecutions, the first Turks and Caicos Islander in this position. Dr. Brooks is also an author. She has recently published her book, Aaron, A Journey of Love, Loss, and Triumph. She is the head of the Anti-Money Laundering Unit within her office and is actively engaged in providing training on various areas of law, the government, and other stakeholder bodies. She continues to make a difference and strives to be the best in every area of her life. Let's welcome Miss Angela Brooks to Pathways to Success.
Love that. Welcome to Pathway to Success. I'm your host, Dr. Michael Hunter, and I'm sitting with the illustrious Dr. Angela Brooks. And we interviewed her was it last year?
This year as well.
This year as well.
Mm-hmm.
And she promised us that she would come back. And she kept her word also. She kept her word. But this time she came in studio. She said she'd come into studio and then she'd also this beautiful book which was written in remembrance of her son who went to be with the Lord Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
I like this topic. I just love the cover of it, and I love the contents on the inside of it. A Journey of Love, Loss, and Triumph. Angela Brooks, PhD.
Yeah.
Welcome to Pathway to Success again.
Thank you for the third
And
time.
in studio. Thank you so much for taking time out to be here with us with your beautiful family.
Yeah, thank you.
Tell me, what inspired you to write this book, Doc?
It's a long journey. It's a long journey. I think this book was birthed out of pain, actually, out of pain, out of anxiety, and out of a lot of grief. And in 2014, our son Aaron, he died. Aaron was a special needs child, and one morning, day after Mother's Day, Desmond and I got up. We were actually sleeping, and Desmond got up early in the morning as usual to go and check on Aaron. And when he got into the room where Aaron was, he found Aaron unresponsive. And that started a journey, a roller coaster of raw emotions and pain. And it was so difficult to process. It was difficult to accept. And prior to Aaron dying, my uncle, he had passed also, and my uncle was like a father figure to me. And when he died, he requested to be cremated. And so he died in the Bahamas, and they brought him home in a little urn, and they had the funeral. But during the funeral, I don't know how it is in America, but when we mourn in the Caribbean, we mourn.
Oh, yes.
We tear things down and we
Not like here.
right, but it wasn't like that. Everybody was celebrating, and I was in the corner, and I had this grief building up in me because I wanted to cry, and I didn't, and I just shut down. And then my son died some years later, and I shut down, and I was carrying around this grief for years. I didn't want to talk about Aaron. The day he died, I wanted to bury him the very same day because no one taught us or taught me how to grieve. I didn't know what to do. And over the years, it just built up to the level of anxiety. And when I was doing my PhD, I think when I started doing my PhD, and I have my PhD in the philosophy of Christian counseling, and when I was doing my PhD, I had to do a lot of courses that caused me to examine myself, dealing with my emotions. And I always knew that I was going to write. And I knew that the first book that I had to write was a book about my son. And that is what prompted me. And the book really was like therapy for me because it pushed me and it forced me to deal with pain and emotions that I didn't want to deal with. And so writing the book, it took about 2 years, not because I didn't have the time to do it, but because of the emotional roller coaster ride that it took me on. I had to write and then take a break, write and take a break. So for me, the point, the rubber meet the road.
Right.
Yeah, it was time to deal with it and not because I was going to explode.
Yeah.
And so that is the journey that got me to writing my book.
I like this at the back of the book here also. Resilience, fortitude, triumph.
Yes.
Can you explain these three words? I know. What does that mean for you in putting this on the cover of the book?
Yeah. Like the as I said, Aaron was 11 years old when he died. And for the whole entire time of his life, it was very, very difficult for my family and myself. We had, when you read the book, you will see the things that we went through. The medical facilities back in Turks and Caicos are not as modernized as here in America. So I believe it was either 2 or 3 times I had to be medically evacuated to America to get medical treatment for Aaron because Aaron had a seizure condition as well. And I wouldn't go into the story of the medical negligence that
Right.
went on as a result of the reason why he was born the way he was born. But basically, the doctor said over here that he was in my womb too long. He was way over 9 months.
What?
When you read the book tonight, you will see it, and you will call me tomorrow. And
Way over 9 months.
yeah, I never went into labor. I was induced. And that's another story because it was just not me that was in that position. It was a number of women on the island at that time, at the hands of the doctor that they had that suffered, and all the babies died for the exception of two. Yeah. And so that's a whole new kettle of fish, you know. And but we were relentless in our pursuit that I never, not once did I ever doubt God that he was not going to heal Aaron. And we believed that up until the day that he passed. When Desmond called me that morning, I really thought Desmond was waking me up to tell me that this is the miracle that we've been praying for. Like we had scriptures all around the house. We sowed seed. I was up and down to every healing service. Like I was resilient in everything that I did. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen the way that we wanted it to happen. And we just, as a family, we fought. We fought and we fight daily. But although Aaron passed in 2014, and I went through my season of where I was angry with God and I was confused.
Right.
Because here I
All
was.
these scriptures, faith,
Yeah.
you're exercising your faith, you're in the word, and you have traveled to different healing revivals,
Yes.
trusted because the Bible says, I'm the Lord that healeth thee.
Yeah, and then, but I also, I also publicly declared,
Right.
that God is a healer, God is this, and God is that. And so when it didn't happen that way, I was like, what am I going to say to people?
Right.
Like, what testimony am I going to have to others, after publicly declaring that we stand on the word of God and we know that God is going to heal Aaron, and then Aaron dies, and it didn't happen that way. And so I was upset with God. I was confused, and I really didn't even know how to pray anymore. I went to church because that's what all I know, but I was in a situation where I didn't know what to believe. Like my faith was being challenged at that time. But I always tell people, like everyone, Doc, who has read this book, everyone, and I tell no lie, They're all saying that I went to the first chapter and I had to stop because I'm just washed away in tears.
Yeah.
I didn't know you went through so much. I didn't know your family went through so much. And that's when the resilience came in. We didn't falter. Although, I had my moment with God, but I know that God is sovereign.
Yes. Yes.
He doesn't have to answer my questions. He is God Almighty. And we trusted him and we still trust him.
Yes.
So when it comes to believing, I tell people read the book to the end.
Yeah.
Because yes, we went through, to me, like hell and fire, but I want you to get to the end of the book to show the lessons that was learned throughout this journey, throughout this process. That's the most important thing to me. And I believe that as a believer, when we go through situations, it is never just for you.
Right.
Your pain is never wasted with God, and it's never just for you. It's always for others.
Yes.
And I cannot tell you about the number of persons who have called me crying, voice noting me, texting me, emailing me, telling me like my story resonates with them and they're going through so much and the book has helped them so much. And that is my whole purpose, to share my story because there's so many hurting people.
Yeah.
So many hurting people out there who feel as if they want to give up. Like there's no tomorrow. They don't know why there's a tomorrow. But I'm here to say that, if God brought me through, he's no respecter of persons, and we know that.
We know that.
If he brought me through, he can also bring you through.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
He can and he will.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, I recognize that on the former chief minister of the Turks and Caicos Island,
Mhm.
Honorable Oswald O'Neill Skippins, also had something to say about this book,
Yeah.
as well as which is highly recommended.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Dr. Hubert A. Fulford,
Yeah.
ED, from Notary Public and Justice of the Peace of the Turks Island.
Mm-hmm.
There's something else that I saw that I think this person at the front
Yeah.
that I saw, and that was Miss Roll or
Yes, Reverend Patricia Rowe.
Patricia Roll.
Yeah.
And I like how you started praise for Aaron, devastating experience of losing a child, regardless of age, ability, or cause of death. That is hard to understand. With the aid of her strong faith, Dr. Angela Brooks has wandered this treacherous path and now hope to use what she learned to help others.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Clotilda
Mm-hmm.
Clotilda S. Charles, Chairperson Board of Directors for Professor of Kingdom Truth University.
Yes.
I like this. It's a very. I love the way it starts. I love everything. I love the cover. What inspired you though? With the cover.
Yeah. Okay. So when I thought about the cover with my publishers, and I said, it's a journey.
Right.
And so when I'm thinking about a journey, automatically a road came.
Right.
But it had to be in the distance. I wanted to see the sunshine.
Yeah.
It was important for the sunshine because when we are going through grief, we don't want to stay at the same place for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Some people get lost in grief. They got stuck in grief and they don't know how to come out. And when they are coming out, sometimes they feel like they are not entitled to be happy again. And for me, it's a progression. My son had passed over 10 years ago. And if I was sitting here with the same level and magnitude of grief that I carried back in 2014, I had that same level of grief today in 2024, then I wouldn't have grown.
Right.
Then I wouldn't have trusted God. So the sunshine for me in this book, it represents hope.
Yeah.
It represents progression. That on the other side of grief and pain, there's going to be sunshine. But I always tell people, time doesn't heal wounds.
No.
It is what you do during the time that heals wounds. Because with my son dying in 2014, I could lock myself away, refuse to get help, refuse to talk about it, refuse to acknowledge my pain, refuse to acknowledge my grief, act as if nothing happened. Fast forward 10 years, If I carried on like that 10 years, I would be in the same position.
That's true. That's true.
But what you don't confront, it doesn't mean that it's going to go away. You have to confront your pain. We have to learn to confront our pain, sit in our pain, and feel at liberty to do whatever it is that you need to do in order to walk through your grief. So time doesn't heal pain. It's what you do during that time. And when my son first passed, I did what I'm telling others not to do. When Aaron died, I didn't want to talk about Aaron. I didn't want to see any pictures. I didn't want anybody to talk to me about it, about him. I didn't want to deal with my feelings. I went back to work. As a prosecutor, I went back to court. Aaron died on a Monday. Wednesday, I was back to work as normal. And people asked me, they was like, something wrong with her. Like they came and they said, how are you? And I said, I'm fine. I'm great. Inside of me was like a ticking bomb.
King Bomb, right? Yeah.
And I smiled. And sometimes you gotta watch those smiles because the biggest smiles sometimes hide the biggest pain. And I carried on like that for years. I didn't want to, if anyone was talking about my son or talking about children with special needs or sudden death, I would just excuse myself from the conversation and I left. But then it didn't mean that I was dealing with my grief. The grief was still there. When I was by myself, how I would cry, I just felt the weight on me. It was wearing me down. It was almost up to here. And then I had it. I had the big emotional outburst and breakdown. And I thank God I didn't go with a heart attack or something like that because medically it has been proven that when you hold on to grief and anger and pain, you can get illnesses, you can get sick. But I had this explosion of emotion and I wept and I cried. I was floored. And guess what? It felt good.
Good.
It was a relief. It was like, it was everything was pent up behind a dam, and then it opened up and it burst open. Yes, and then I started talking about my son. I got a counselor. I got a therapist, and I started dealing with my pain. I started dealing with my pain, and so what I've learned is that you can't sit down on your pain. You can't sit down on your anxiety. You have to deal with it. And that's one of the lessons that I talk about in my book.
Wow.
Yeah.
So powerful. So for those who are watching, whatever grief you may be grieving over a loved one that you have lost, maybe a child, brother, mother, brother, sister, but this book, I believe this book will be one of the keys to
Yeah.
help you through whatever you're going through, whatever pain that you're going through right now. I would recommend this book on topic Aaron, The Journey of Love and Loss and Triumph. How do you hope your readers will relate to Aaron?
Well, I would say how they are relating now because I'm like on a book tour.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm happy about that.
Yeah. So I'm in Turks and Caicos and I was in Jacksonville, Florida. I just came from Jacksonville with my book. I was in Barbados with my book. Yeah. And so now I'm here and I have some more interviews to do. And when I speak about my book, you know, some people are buying like 20 books at a time because they're saying that I have a friend who lost their child and they're going through a really difficult time. And I read your book and I think it will help them because of what you shared in your book. And although I tell our story at the beginning of the book, at the end of the book, around chapter, I don't know, the last 3 or 4 chapters of the book, I shared some nuggets of what I learned over 10 years. It's difficult I always say, to try and advise people on areas that you have no experience in.
Sure.
You understand? Like if you would want to talk to me about losing a child, if you've never lost a child, you don't know that pain. You understand? So I'm talking from firsthand experience. So I can tell them what I went through and what I have learned and what has worked. Now, not because it worked for me in a particular way means that it's going to work for you, but the principles remain the same. You can apply it to your life. And one of the most profound principles that I want to share with the listeners is that no two people grieve the same way. And you shouldn't allow anyone to box you in to say because Dr. Brooks, okay, Dr. Brooks took 10 years before she talked about her situation, so you should only take 10 years. And people coming to you after your child has died and say, like 2 years on the road, 3 years on the road, you still grieving? You still grieving over that? That's so insensitive,
Very,
very
very
insensitive.
sensitive.
So we have to give ourselves the liberty, the freedom to be human. Sometimes we act too Christian, we act too saved, too religious, and we apply the scriptures to everything. And I always tell my children, if somebody comes to you and tell you they are hungry, if I say I'm hungry, I don't want you to pray for me.
No.
I want something to eat.
Right, that's true.
Then after you give me something to eat,
Yes.
then you can pray for me. Like God will give me a job or something. And it's
I'm in total agreement. That's practicality.
yeah.
No.
Yes, because sometimes people are in deep pain, and then the first thing people want to say, "Oh, let me lay hands and pray for you."
Praying in tongues.
Allow them,
Yeah, praying in tongues.
let the person speak.
Right.
Let them talk. What emotions are you feeling? I'm not saying not to pray because that's important. That's paramount. But allow the person to talk. Refer them to a counselor. Be there for that person. Don't. If I'm hungry, I want you to pray for me. I want some food.
And I'm in total
Yeah.
agreement.
So we have to know that no two people grieve alike, but you have a right to grieve. Don't let anyone box you in and telling you what to grieve, how to grieve, when to grieve. You ain't finished yet. Be human and sit in your emotions, and then you express yourself. You let it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Wow. What you say is so true because some years ago,
Mhm.
many years, I was in my early 20s.
Okay.
I knew a young man we went to school with, and he graduated and became a pastor of this great church.
Hmm.
And another young man came up to him and said that he's hungry. Now, this pastor has a lot of money,
Yeah.
very wealthy. I was shocked when I hear him say to the guy, let us pray. I said, what are we praying for? I said, you have a lot of money. He said, let me go in my pocket and give the guy something. You need to give the guy something.
Yes.
Said I was going to pray. I said, what? You know,
Mhm.
isn't there something in the church we can get to him? So what you're saying, I'm in total agreement. We're going to take a short break with Dr. Angela Brooks, and we'll return right back.
Hello, my name is Darren. I've been asked by Dr. Brooks to review her book. Dr. Brooks has been a spiritual mother of mine since my teenage years. And my introduction to the family started by first meeting her oldest son and husband. But I like to say that my connection to the family started when Aaron passed. So reading this book for me has given me insight into some of the ways that she has personally struggled and this family has struggled beyond what my eyes could see at the time and beyond anything that I had the capacity to hold in my own heart at the time. So it is refreshing to some degree to now be able to see and hear and understand and hold this part of her story well. And it's something that I think is incredibly impressive, but also incredibly kind for her to do as a gift to the world, but also as a way for her to be gentle with herself and slowing down around her own grief and her own story, and doing the work to get as close as possible to this trauma and this pain and this hurt that has reshaped her family, but also reshaped her view of life. And I think there are so many women and so many families in the world that are trying to learn how to grapple with the emotion of grief itself and the process of grief itself. And this book in many ways helps to encourage and to build courage into the hearts of readers, and faith for what this journey can look like, because it lets us know that while grief may start in sadness, it doesn't have to end in sadness. Grief can end in triumph. And by triumph, we don't mean somehow that you ultimately get over the pain and the hurt, but you learn how to let the pain in and let it reshape you for good and for goodness, and to be a force of good and a wellspring of compassion in the lives of those you touch and those you are around. So thank you for this opportunity. And I hope as many of you as possible can get your hands on this book. And I hope that it inspires you to write your own stories and turn your pain into something that can help others as well. Thank you.
Did you get your copy? You didn't get your copy?
Hey guys, it's us again. Did you get your copy?
Aaron is officially available on Amazon. Click the link in the description to purchase your book.
Get yours today.
Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Ashley Brooks, son of Dr. Angela Brooks, and I just wanted to take a moment to shout my mom out and congratulate her on the completion of her new book, Aaron. As you guys know, the book launch is on July 20th at 7:30 p.m. at the H.J. Robertson High School Auditorium. So if you're in Grand Turk, make sure you come out and support. Also, the book is available on Amazon currently. It is number 3 trending on Amazon, so you know that people are really receiving the message that we're sending out. So again, a big shout out to my mom. I know how difficult this journey was for you. We've been there step by step every day with you, and just understanding what it took for you to get to this point. But I believe that this book will change lives, and the testimony is going to help somebody. So again, July 20th, 7:30 p.m. in Grand Turk. Make sure you come out.
Welcome to Pathway. Wow, we're right back. I was just so caught up in all, in those who are speaking great reviews about this book, Aaron, and I really believe that this book is going to become one of the bestseller books.
In Jesus' name.
Yes, this book is going to go there, and so many persons' lives have been transformed and changed by reading Aaron. And I'll be reading my copy tonight after the show. But you've been on this tour, and the reception has been, people have been coming up to you, people have been purchasing books, and many people have been learning how to cope with their loss. Let's talk about grief and loss. What
And that's such a relevant topic for today, because like so many people, are going through grief, experiencing grief as a result of sudden loss, loss due to illness, and not knowing what to do.
Right.
Because the world tells us that we have to pacify ourselves, and we use scriptures as band-aids to cover up pain, and grief. And you will hear like somebody died. Oh, Jesus knows it all. He will never put more on you. You can bear. Turn your troubles into God and all those kind of things. And inside, you feel as if your chest is going to explode, with grief and loss. And for me, grief is like a roller coaster. Not every day you're going to be just in despair. And not every day you're going to be on a mountaintop. And you have to appreciate your seasons. And in the book, I said that in life we have seasons. It is just like when you're in an airplane. When we were coming here, the pilot said to us, we're going to go through some turbulence. And we did go through some turbulence, but we came out on the other side. You don't stay in turbulence forever, and it's just like storms. We live in a hurricane-prone area, and you get the alert about a hurricane, and the hurricane can be tumultuous, it can be terrible, and it can be very devastating, but then it passes. And then you have to deal with the aftermath. To me, that's how grief and loss is. And so you have to know how to navigate through the storm and how to handle yourself after the storm, because after the storm is going to be a lot of debris, a lot of broken hearts, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and you have to know how to live through that. And we can't take a band-aid and put it over a gaping wound, because it's not going to hold together. What about grief? What we have to understand is that when we have emotions, instead of pushing your emotions aside, embrace your emotions. I remember one time I was walking through Walmart and I got triggered over something. And I just wanted to scream because the pain was so intense, like the emotion was so intense. But I said to myself, me? These people can think I'm crazy. I'm not going to do that. I will cry later.
Yeah.
Later, I didn't feel that emotion,
Right.
but it didn't mean that that emotion went away. That emotion was still locked away in my body, right? And that's what we do sometimes. We feel these emotions, we have all this pain, but we keep pressing it down and pressing it down, and we don't allow ourselves to just feel the pain. And so, what we have to do is, whatever the pain is, whatever the situation is, if you want to cry, cry. If you want to scream, scream. If you want to knock something over, do it. Listen to your body and express your feelings and emotion, because by you covering it up and pushing it down and not experiencing it because you're going to do it at a later time, or it's not ladylike, or it's not good for me to do this, and people may say, oh, you're still grieving over this, and you keep it down. For women, you will start seeing bags under your eye. You're going to start seeing wrinkles. You start getting gray hair. Your health, you may end up getting diabetes, cancer. It is linked to grief. You have to find ways and means of just expressing your pain. And that is what I talk about in the book, by allowing yourself to be human and just expressing your pain, you know?
And this is so true. I like what you say. You scream
Mhm.
or you find something to hit over. Not really the individual standing in front of you, because
Yes.
you being a prosecutor know what will
Yeah.
happen. You know what will happen.
Yeah.
Walk, what can happen from there. But I
Right.
understand what she's saying. But that's true. There are a lot of persons that there's some people that are very sensitive though, because I recognize
Yes.
within the church circle,
Mhm.
people,
Especially in the church.
especially the church circle,
Especially in the church.
people
Yes.
don't understand what you're going through until it comes knocking at their door.
Yeah.
Then
Mhm.
that's when you see them bawling and rolling all over the place, not recognizing that you're human. But
Mhm.
now they recognize that they're human after all.
Let me tell you, when I had my book launch a couple of weeks ago, I was sitting waiting to go to be interviewed at my book launch, and behind me, I heard this person crying. I just heard crying and crying at the book launch, but I didn't want to look behind, to be nosy or whatever. And it was one of my friends, and she left, and she texted me, and she said, Angela, I cannot stay. She said, because this is so real for me. She said, I'm grieving the loss of my nephew, and I never dealt with the pain. Listening to your book, and I had other people speaking about grief, she said it is bringing it so much to her forefront that she has to leave. You know how long her nephew died?
Oh,
15 years ago.
years. Wow.
15 years ago. She said she never dealt with the pain. She just kept on, and that's what I was telling you. Time doesn't do anything. She just kept on pushing it out of the way. You busy yourself.
Right.
And that's what I did. I busied myself. I busied myself with my other children. I busied myself with my work. I busied myself with church,
Mhm.
And with church, and they were so happy. Like,
Yeah.
oh, God has healed her.
Either.
That God has healed her. And she said, I'm so happy that I came to this launch, because it made me realize that I have to confront this pain. I have to deal with it. It's been 15 years. I couldn't believe it.
15 years.
15 years. I mean, not that I couldn't believe it, because it took me 10 years,
Right.
right? And that's what I'm saying. It took her 15, it took me 10. It may take somebody else 20 years.
20 years.
And I am not in the position to judge.
Right.
I'm not in a position to judge anyone, and that's what we have to be. We cannot be, we shouldn't be insensitive to other people.
But
And
there's some people like that though.
A lot of people, and you would
It's
say,
just, they don't
you
care.
still crying
Yeah,
over
they-
your son
yeah,
Stephanie's been
yeah,
there
yeah.
2 years.
Until they lose someone for them, that's when
Yeah.
insensitivity goes through the door. So this is a way of relief.
It was my therapy.
It's therapy. This
Yeah.
book is therapy.
It's
If
a
you need
release for
therapy,
me.
if you need release, I'm gonna ask you to purchase this book, Aaron, A Journey of Love and Lost and Triumph, Angela Brooks, PhD. Where can we get these books?
It should be on the link. It's on Amazon.
On Amazon.
Yeah, it's on Amazon and it's posted. Yeah, it's on Amazon internationally.
This is so much important, and I'm gonna read mine because I just lost a niece. So who I grew like my daughter. And what you say about church people, oh,
And especially
they
like,
believe that.
you're the pastor, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you should heal quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they'll tell you that, oh, it's fine. It's
Yeah.
It's nothing. It's, you
But
know.
why? Well, I'm going to ask you a question now. Why do we do that in the church circle? Why do we like to put religion over everything and make it seem as if God didn't? God knows me.
Yes.
And he knows
does.
you because he created us and he made us. Jesus wept.
Yes,
He
he
made,
did.
and Jesus was angry when he went into the temple and he was slashing and breaking up the tables when they were gambling. He expressed his emotion. Why is it that the church don't allow us the time that we need in order to express, like when we hurt? Why do they put a time frame on it?
Because within the Christendom, if you want to look at Christendom, now I said this today, right? If you look at the Muslims,
Mm-hmm.
they're more united. There's more love and bonding with them.
Mhm.
The Rastafari, the
Mhm.
Buddhists, all those people.
Mhm.
There's more love. The church is built on tradition,
Correct.
especially the black. Let's look at the black church.
Yeah.
Within the Caucasian church,
Yeah.
it's a total different type of thing. It's not a religious type of thing, and it's not rigid. You're allowed to grieve. You're allowed to be who you are. The people recognize that you're not perfect.
Mhm.
But within the black church now, they tend to they look at you as Superwoman or Wonder Woman or a Superman,
Yeah.
and they don't understand that we're human beings after all. Jesus wept. You said something right here.
Yeah.
Jesus wept, right?
Yeah.
So what about us?
Mhm. And then when people turn to alcohol,
Oh, the
drugs,
church is
They
going to
leave
get
the
you on that.
church.
Oh, they're going to get you on
Yeah,
that. The church is
because-
going to get you
because-
on that one.
because they're hurting,
Yeah.
But one of the things too about this book, when I was going through our grief with Aaron before he passed, it reminds me of the children of Israel when they were leaving, the Israelites when they were leaving, and God gave them manna to eat every day. And when we were going through our trial time with Aaron, we needed a refreshing. We needed manna every day from God. Like the strength I had for today, I couldn't take it over into tomorrow.
Right.
So it forced me as a believer to just get into God's presence every day. And sometimes we wonder why things happen. And one of the things I said, I always quote the scripture, all things work together for good for those who love the Lord and for those who are called according to his purpose. And I said to God, what good can come out of this? Like my child, I woke up and met my child dead. What good, what glory can you get from this? And there's so many things that happened, not initially.
Right.
And while you're taking your test, when I'm taking my test, I can't help you.
Right.
After I come through my test,
Right.
I finish my test and I pass my test. Now I can say, listen, this is how you do it. This is. So when I was going through this test, I wasn't able to help anybody. I needed help myself. But now that I am on the other side, I can now tell somebody else. And one of the things, I had to go to God every day. Every day, I needed fresh manna. And that pushed me to read the word. It pushed me to fast. It pushed me to pray because I felt like he was my only strength, you know? And that's one of the things to me, that's one of the positive things that came out of my trials. Knowing that God is sovereign and he really don't have to answer my questions.
That's true.
And you know, because I asked him, what? Like I was a good Christian,
Yeah.
you know, I was a nice person. My husband was a good Christian. We were a good family. Like, why? Why you choose me? Why you choose my family? Like, you know, I felt like Achan, like I had stolen something sacred. I had hid it, and now I'm being punished for it. You know, and so I said, God, why us? Why now? I never asked you for Aaron. You gave me Aaron. So I came to realize that I was always sitting down waiting for this audible sound that God was gonna, Angela, that kind of thing.
That type of thing.
Yeah, that never happened. And I came to realize that God is sovereign. He does what he will. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. And he doesn't have to answer my questions. So I came to appreciate that God, I am your child, and I am here to fulfill your purpose. And how he chose to bring his purpose to pass in my life is ultimately up to him. We have our plans. I'm sure you have your plan, what you're going to do the rest of your life, what you want to do tomorrow, what you want to do. But we have to consult God because sometimes our plans don't line up with God's plan.
That's true.
And he going to put us, he will straighten us out so that our plan will fit into his plan. And to me, that is what happened in our life. Like, I wanted Aaron to be healed, and then we have our little perfect family of 8, and we go about sitting along our merry way. But it never happened that way. And I had to accept it for how God chose to orchestrate it because at the end of the day, Doc, there was nothing more I could have done. You know, there was nothing more I could have done.
Wow, this is must read.
Yes.
I'll be reading it tonight also.
Mm.
This will help me, or in a very powerful way.
Mm-hmm.
What lasting impression would you like your readers to leave? You'd like to leave your readers after reading this book about Aaron.
For anyone who's going through any kind of loss, it doesn't have to be the loss of a child. I've had a friend who lost a pet, and she had that pet like for 20 odd years. People might say, oh, but some people are, it's like a part of the family. It can be the loss of a spouse, it can be the loss of a marriage,
Yes.
it can be the loss of a sibling, a job, whatever it is. Grief is no respect of persons. You
No.
can find grief in every walk of life.
I like that what you said. Grief is no respecter because there's some people that live on earth,
Mm-hmm.
and all they live, they believe that whatever grief that the individual is going through, it will never come at their doorstep.
So too bad for them.
Because that's a foolish person.
The word of God said, in this life, you will have what? Troubles. He ain't said only black people can have trouble, only white people can have trouble, only women can have trouble. He promised us, and as an attorney, words are very important to me. Like words like may,
Yes.
it's different from words like shall.
Right.
And the lawyer in me, right?
Right. That's
So he
right.
said, in this life, you will.
Mhm.
You will. That's mandatory.
Mandatory.
You will have trouble. Everybody's going to have trouble. Now, your trouble may be different from my trouble, and my trouble may be different from someone else's trouble, but you can guarantee it, you're going to have trouble. And associated with trouble is pain and grief. I don't see no one running around open arms saying, come, trouble, come. No, no, right?
No.
But we're going to have trouble. So we got to know how to deal with trouble. In this book, I am not saying that it will answer all your problems. It will give you a start and it might answer some of your questions. We all question why me? Why this happened to me? You know, God has a plan and a purpose for all of us. And our plan may not line up with God's plan, but God is sovereign. And what he chooses to do, that is his prerogative. And we are only here as his instruments. So many times we get so selfish in this life. I think we get so caught up in life that we forget why we are here on this earth. We are only here because God has us here for a plan, you know.
Yes.
He has us here for a purpose. And when that purpose is completed, either up or down you go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I would want my readers to take away from after they read Aaron is a sense of hope. I know the book is an emotional roller coaster, and like it says, it's a raw, heart-wrenching roller coaster ride of unimaginable grief and pain, overwhelming sorrow and despair. But if you look at the end of the book, we see triumph.
Yeah, I like that.
Yes. And in the end, we can triumph. God doesn't want us to be in the same position. We look at David when David's son was alive, but he was ill. And David stripped off his clothes and he fasted and he refused to eat. And he went before God and he prayed. But his son was not spared.
Right.
When the word came back to him that your son passed, what David did? David got up, bathed off his skin, put on his Louis Vuitton clothes, and he went and he got seafood boiled.
I like that.
Right? He went and he ate. And his servant said, well, David already long lose his mind. David crazy. He said, no. When my son was dying, I prayed to God because God could have healed him.
Yeah.
Now that he is transitioned and he's with the Lord, he can never come back to me, but I can go to him.
Yeah.
And no more I can do.
So,
You
not to
understand?
glory, yeah.
Now I gotta get up and go live my life. You
Mhm.
understand? We have to know that God does not want us to be in a state of depression forever, for the rest of our lives. Yes, it's a process, and no one can tell you how long that process is going to be. But if you want to grow and you want to continue to live, we have to get onto the other side of grief. And I'm hoping that this book will help you to get there.
This book's a bestseller, a must read, and this book also will help you through whatever you're going through. I want to thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Promise made, a promise
Dr.
kept.
Angela Brooks.
I told you I was
PhD.
coming, right?
Thank you for coming in with Desmond and the twins, and
Yes.
with your other daughter, the
Olivia.
Olivia,
Yes.
and all those that's watching. I pray that everyone.
In Azari. I have
Azari.
another. Yeah, she don't want me to forget her too.
Sorry.
Yes.
And your sons.
Yes, my son Ashley. Yeah, he's
Mhm.
currently in Brazil. Yeah, but he's
Beautiful
watching now.
Brazil.
Yes, yes.
He's in Rio de Janeiro. I've been there before. Beautiful
Yeah.
Brazil. It's a beautiful place to be. I want to thank you for coming out and sharing and keeping your word,
Yes,
and also giving me a copy. I'm going to ask to sign
yes.
of
I
this
will.
copy,
Mhm,
so I can start my reading on this book.
mhm.
This book, Aaron.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
It's a great honor to have you
Yes,
here.
thank you.
And I pray that everyone, I
Mhm.
mean, on the islands in America will get this book because this book is a bestseller
Mhm,
and a must read. Bite for the week.
mhm.
You want to give them a bite for the week? You need it?
What's a bite for the week now? I'm not familiar with that.
No matter what pain you go through,
Mhm.
this book will help you through and God will see you through.
But you got it from Dr. Hunter. No matter what you go through, this book will bring you through.
No matter what you go through,
Yes,
this book will bring you through.
yes.
And God will bring you through too.
Amen.
Have a great week from us here at Pathway to Success.
Thank you.